ब्राह्मण अधिकतर वही है कि ब्राह्मण आता है जो पूछता है तो अपने ब्राह्मण को कहते हैं अलग अलग रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी
पंशुकूलधरं जन्तुं किसन् धम्म निसन्थन्तन् एकं वनस्मिन् जायन्तं तमहं ब्रूमि ब्राह्मणम्।
पंचकूल लोग कपड़े मिट्टी से उठाते rags. Person who is putting on just rags on a dust heap. किसान दीन तत्परता है धम्म निसंतम whose beings वो भी दिख रही हैं। एकम वनसमम ध्यायन्तम् अकेला वन में ध्यान करता है। एकम अकेला वनसमम वन के अंदर ध्यान करता है। तम हम ब्राह्मण उसको मैं ब्राह्मण। The story is about the king of gods when coming to pay homage. At that time, Kesa Gautami, you heard that story of Kesa Gautami. She using her supernatural powers flew to the Buddha in order to pay homage. When Sakkar did enter, she entered after saying. He asked Buddha who was she and he told him the story. And then he spoke this verse. Stopping the virtues of meditation.
न चाहं ब्राह्मणं ब्रूमि योजियं योजनी
ओम से
योजनी जं मति संभवम
से पैदा होगा।
भवादि नामा सो होती सच्चे होती सकिंचन
और सकिंचन
चनम अनादनं तमहं भूमि ब्रह्मानंदं ब्राह्मण
न चाहम ब्राह्मणम ब्रूमि उसको ब्राह्मण नहीं कहता हूँ जो निज मत्ति संभव मैं केवल एक ब्राह्मण माँ के गर्भ से पैदा हुआ है। ये these are the things which made him Brahma very angry. Bhovadi Nama Soga. Bhovadi used to be a kind of disrespectful way by which the Brahmins used to call monks. मतलब ऐसा आदमी जो है is only a arrogant person. सच्चे होती सकिंचनो, because he has still attachments. सकिंचनो तो बहुत सारी चीजें हैं उसके पास। अकिंचनम अनादानम, जो इसका कुछ भी नहीं है, was without any attachment. तम हम ब्रूमि ब्राह्मण, उसको मैं ब्राह्मण। Story is as usual of Brahman who comes and says, तुम सबको ब्राह्मण कहते हो अपने डिसाइपल्स को, तो मैं भी ब्राह्मण हूँ, नहीं that just because he is born from a Brahman mother doesn't mean that he is a Brahman.
How historically लोगों का consensus है कि these are the verses जो बुद्ध ने बोले हैं between traditions also.
Yeah. Universally. Because each has a story associated, which is, and they appear, stories appear at various places. जैसे किस्सा गौतम की स्टोरी है, वो भी सेम की अगली स्टोरी है, तो एक्रोबैट वो भी बहुत बड़ा है, जो उसमें आती है। So then people, many of them are appearing in the Pitakaras. सर्व संयोजनम क्षेत्वा यो वे न परिपश्यति संगातिगम विसंयुक्तम तमहं ब्रूमि ब्राह्मणम्। सर्व संयोजनम क्षेत्वा, क्षेत्वा को छिद्र कर काट दिए सारे संयोजन, all the fetters has been cut. यो वे न परिपश्यति, it doesn't have a tremble, it doesn't cry for anything. संगातिकम विसंयुक्तम, इसमें सारे भी जो बंधन है वो ओवरकम कर, जो उठा तोड़ दिया है। विसंयुक्तम, जो सेपरेटेड है सब चीजों से, संयुक्त होता है अटैच्ड, सेपरेटेड है फ्रॉम इम्प्योरिटी। तम हम ब्रूमि ब्राह्मण, सो सच ए पर्सन जिसने कि was cut off all the fetters and does not crave for anything, to overcome all the binds, he is called a Brahman. This story about that famous story of a person who married a dancer and became an acrobat, and while he was practicing on the bamboo pool, he listened to Buddha's teachings and attained arhathood. And then he became a monk. And then some monks questioned his attainment and said, "Kya hai?" Then Buddha said this verse, and I've written down those 10 fetters which I think you know about them. This story में थी तो मैंने कहा इसको लिखा। छित्त्वा नभिं वर्तञ्च संदानं सहानुकम्मं उत्थित परिघं बुद्धं तमहं ब्रूमि ब्राह्मणम्। So this is, to understand it, you should read the story first. These are two people who are fighting about oxes. मेरा बैर अच्छा है कि तुम्हारे बैर अच्छा। So एक कार्ट को भर दिया मैं सैंड से और अपने अपने बैर को खींचो, तो वो कार्ट तो खींची नहीं, उनके जो ट्रैप और वो थॉन्ग होते हैं वो सारे टूट गए। So then Buddha used this story to tell what is a Brahman. तो वो उसी तरह के वर्ड्स यूज करते हैं। क्षेत्वा नभिं वर्तञ्च, नभिं मतलब का जो वो है स्ट्रैप, वर्तञ्च मतलब जो उनके वो है हार्नेस है, तो जिसने स्ट्रैप को काट दिया, हार्नेस को काट दिया, कटर्स को काट दिया, और ब्रिडल मतलब जिससे वो बांधा खींचा जाता है उसको भी काट दिया। बस उत्थित परिघम मतलब जो क्रॉस बार होती है बैलों के ऊपर, and who has cut the crossbar, and who has cut off all the obstacles, Buddham is awakened. Tamham Brahmi Brahman. उसको हम ब्राह्मण कहते हैं। Use that story to convey it in those terms. जैसे उसने सारे अपने बंधन जितने भी थे बैल के सारे काट दिए उसने खींच के, तो that is the way I say what should be a Brahman.
Just later उसमें है.
This right? Process of new earth. Aspect.
I think the ego shows a recap. I've marked some comments, so I'll just read those comments.
We have some people online.
We have Sudhakar, Silesh and Shamit. So Shamit actually traveled on the weekend to US.
Yes, sir.
So he must have reached just now. Shamit, when did you reach? You are back? He said when the meditation was ongoing. He just reached like
Still half asleep. वैसे ऐसे जाते हैं वैसे तो गाजियाबाद जाते हैं.
इस बार तुम्हारा एक टेक्नोलॉजी समिट है, इसमें से इंडिया से 30-40 500 people travel.
500 अपने जेट बना के
3-4 प्लेन थे ऑलमोस्ट, अडोबी एम्प्लॉइज से करे हुए थे.
ऑल फ्रॉम दिल्ली.
नहीं तो दिल्ली, बैंगलोर, वो साल में 2 साल में एक ही बार होता है. So actually, I'll just start from the initial chapters.
This is the first chapter.
I'll just give some quick a few lines for each chapter. I will just commented them. The first chapter, the flowering of human consciousness. The main theme is that human beings are reaching this point now, and we stand at the crossroads whereby we'll either enter a new stage of consciousness or destroy ourselves by continuing to be deceived by the ego. And the author says that the only hope for humanity is to recognize its own insanity and to become aware of the working of the ego and rise above it. And the second chapter is the current state of ego, the current state of humanity. And the author says that the ego is the voice in your head that tells you the story of your life as it sees it. Its interpretation of the events of your life is completely conditioned by the past in terms of its structure and its contents, and latter of which is determined by your environment, upbringing, local culture and other factors. Then in the third chapter, core of the ego, the author says that ego identifies itself as something separate from everything else. Therefore, the I thought cannot sustain itself without the thought of the other. The ego needs enemies. It thrives on emotions such as anger and resentment towards those people or situations that it perceives as obstacle to its happiness. Underlying emotion that governs the activity of ego is fear of non-existence, of being nothing, of death. And the fourth chapter is about the role playing, the many phases of the ego. Ego plays role in order to get something from another, be it material gain or some kind of physical or psychological satisfaction or even just attention. Seeing oneself as victim is an element in many egoic patterns such as complaining, being offended, outrage, and so on. Pathological ego often carries unhappiness around subconsciously, constantly filled with thoughts like something needs to happen in my life before I can be happy, but it hasn't happened yet. A collective ego is usually more unconscious than the individual egos which comprise it, and any insult to a group's political or religious beliefs can result in a violence or even war. And the fifth chapter is on the pain body. A pain body is the human tendency to perpetuate negative emotions, carrying them around with us over the course of life and allowing them to prevent an appreciation of the present moment.
So, I'm skipping my mind. How does Eckhart differentiate between ego and pain body?
Ego is like Sanharas. Because we are familiar with the term and it's used like
With that, like,
And the sixth chapter is on the breaking free. And the author says that once you cease to identify with your pain body, it breaks control over you and becomes transmuted into presence. Seventh chapter is about finding who you truly are. To truly understand who you are, you have to look beyond the concepts you normally use to define yourself, such as your job, age, gender, or even psychological character traits. Knowing who you are does not mean having correct beliefs about yourself. Such beliefs tend to come from self-perception that is dominated by time. When the essence of what you really are is timeless. The primordial relationship in the life between in the life is between your awareness and the now. The closer you are to appreciating the present moment, the closer you are to knowing yourself. Chapter 8 is about the discovery of inner space. The three aspects of inner freedom and enlightened living are non-resistance, non-judgment, non-attachment. To truly be free, you must neither resist or judge the present moment, nor become too attached to it. The mantra of non-attachment is, "This too will pass." If you can understand the eternal nature of everything, you will be much better able to accept the bad and appreciate the good whenever you find it. Taking a moment throughout the day to stop, take deep breaths, and become aware of the life energy within you is the only way to overcome the ego and experience freedom from thought. And the chapter 9 is your inner purpose. While outer purpose varies from individual to individual depending on what they decide, inner purpose is same for everyone: to awaken. Awakening is a shift in consciousness in which thinking becomes separated from awareness. Those who seek to awaken must be careful not to treat enlightenment as a kind of prized possession that will make them a better person, as a kind of thinking, as this kind of thinking only serves the ego. When you become comfortable with uncertainty, infinite possibilities open in your life. It means fear is no longer a dominant factor in what you do and no longer prevents you from taking action to initiate change. And now we are at the last chapter, chapter 10. Sorry, Suresh, I didn't projected those notes which but yeah, I can. There was some document I found on the net, and the person had given the summary of all the chapters. So I marked few lines out of each chapter, but I can send those after the session. And in the chapter 10, the author starts with. It will rotate. Actually, वो मैंने लॉक इसलिए कर दिया कि कई बार in the chapter 10, the author starts with this statement that after the Big Bang universe started expanding and it's still expanding, but there will come a time when it will stop. I think you can hear us now.
Yeah.
Okay. And the next slide was awakening and the outgoing movement. They embrace the awakening process voluntarily even while still engaged in the upward cycle of growth and expansion. When that cycle is no longer unspurred by the ego, the spiritual dimension will come into this world through the outward movement, through speech, action, creation, as powerfully as thought, as through the written movement, stillness, being, and dissolution of the form. The next section was on the consciousness, and what the thing author wants to say was that consciousness incarnates into the manifested dimension. That is to say, it becomes the form. When it does so, it enters a dreamlike state. Intelligence dreams, but consciousness becomes unconscious of itself, and it loses itself in the form, becomes identified with the form. And as we discussed last time, little bit of speculations here.
Why should consciousness become unconscious?
Yes.
It's funny, no? Maybe we should say maybe and leave it as a.
But what does because it's very similar to Vedanta.
Yeah, it is Shankaracharya's statements.
But what is their response in Vedanta? What
You
is
see, it is the truth. That's it.
no, but
Maya.
is there a reason for Maya to exist?
This is the divine play, Leela. This is the divine play. No, no reason. There cannot be any reason. That's why Buddha avoids all this stuff. Why it is Sachinta is unthinkable when it starts. So it is an attempt to explain when it starts. इसको काहे को इसको देखने कब ये शुरू हुआ क्यों हुआ
And this section is awakened doing. And he says that closer we get to the end of our present evolutionary stage and more dysfunctional the ego becomes, in just the same way caterpillar becomes dysfunctional just before its transformation into butterfly. But the new consciousness is arising and as the old dissolves.
This is the same logic that he's giving that because it's similar to birth and death cycles. The consciousness has gone to its so low that now it is
Ego has gone.
Now it has to arise. The return movement that he's calling.
Yeah.
He says that in life also there's a return movement, so in the universe also there's now return movement.
Yeah, it's all those metaphysics. It's okay. We should have broadness to accept. Maybe. The last
How it can do. Why did it want to do it?
for the enjoyment of it.
That feels sadistic.
यही पेन लगता है ना कि हम लोगों की हेल्थ ऐसी हो रही है
and then the three modalities of awakened doing. So author basically mentions when somebody who's awakened, he can work in three modes. One mode can be dominant and other can become dominant in the time of a day, and in other mode can be dormant for a person. And the three modes are acceptance, enjoyment, enthusiasm. And acceptance, the author gave an example that when you are helpless and you have to face a situation, so you just accept it rather than bringing your ego uh, into that. Performing an action in the state of acceptance means you are at peace while you do it. The peace is a subtle energy vibration which then flows in what you do.
Nice way of putting it. It's a subtle energy vibration.
And the next chapter is, next section is enjoyment. And enjoyment is the next step where, along with acceptance, you have some inner joy of the things you're doing, and some inner source of happiness, of connectedness. And the author says the peace that comes with surrendered action turns to a sense of aliveness when you actually enjoy what you're doing. Wanting arises from ego's delusion that you are a separate fragment that is disconnected from the power that lies behind all creations. Joy is the dynamic aspect of being. When the creative power of the universe becomes conscious of itself, it manifests as joy. The misrepresentation that the joy comes from what you do in normal. What you do is normal, and it is also dangerous because it creates a belief that joy is something that can be derived from something else, such as the activity or the thing. You then look to the world to bring your joy or happiness, but it cannot do that. And so I think while reading the suttas, there is a direct correlation where all the meditative states of jhanas are there. In the sense that rather than from the external circumstances you're trying to derive happiness, the happiness comes from the internal states. You will enjoy any activity in which you are fully present, any activity that is not just a means to end. Some of those people who, through creative action, enrich the lives of many others simply do what they enjoy doing most without wanting to achieve or becoming anything through that activity. So I think this is also true. And once you have this inner joy and what you do, you will spread the happiness. I think this is the common experience. We are grumpy, then we make others grumpy. And if we are happy, we make others happy. The author gives this example that there may be musicians, artists, writers, scientists, teachers, or builders. They may bring into manifestation the new social or business structures or enlightened businesses.
Enlightened businesses? Professional.
Then next is enthusiasm. So enthusiasm is again one step ahead of enjoyment, and that's why the author uses this word structural tension, because possibly there is somewhere some slight ego, I don't know what to call it, and then the author also mentions that this will mostly be in your early part of the life when you're rising, and when you are also like in a job when you are joined a new job, or you're learning new things. That's where possibly the enthusiasm also develops. Because you want to distinguish that generally this doesn't come in the written cycle of your life, where you have more of stillness and you have more with being. I just read the section. Enthusiasm means that there is a deep enjoyment in what you do, plus an added element of goal or a vision that you work toward. When you add a goal to the enjoyment of what you do, the energy field or vibration frequency changes. A certain degree of what we might call structural tension is now added to the enjoyment, so it turns into enthusiasm. At the height of creative activity fueled by enthusiasm, there will be enormous intensity and energy behind what you do.
He, he says he means to the end वाला part वहाँ कहते हैं, and now he's saying that you add the element of goal, then it turns into enjoyment. But but his main point in the whole of the book has been to remain now, then.
Yeah. मुझे इस पॉइंट nowadays कि अगर आपके horizon में क्लियरिटी है क्या करना है, whatever you do now is to have a clarity what is the objective of doing. So doing it now does not mean you don't have a clarity on the goal. So you can if you have some, for example, I can get to all this very easily when I was writing those novels, or when we were doing that project of the. Living in a different world altogether. There was so much of resistance, for example, in that project. Still, we were very clear. नहीं ये तो करना ही चाहिए, ये तो बहुत अच्छी चीज़, ये तो हमें करना ही चाहिए. So we worked with, night and day, like kind of, without getting any tired or fatigued. Most of the time, of course, and negativity ज़्यादा बढ़ती तो हम भी बह जाते थे negativity. Then we would start quivering and shouting. But for example, when I was writing the novel, I was doing it. It started as a perception कि ऐसा करना अच्छा रहेगा. It will be good for the people to be aware of it. Whether it is truly true or not doesn't matter. But I felt it so, and that had a tremendous, joy, enthusiasm, working for it, and absolutely all these things were actually experienced. Then you live in a different world altogether. Then everything else is secondary.
Silesh has a related question. Doesn't having a goal imply ego creeps back in?
It may or may not. It may. If you are very clear that this is what should be achieved, and you are also clear that it may not be achieved, doesn't matter. It may not. Then the doing of it is a joy. If one is too attached to the goal, then there will be problem.
I think attaching to the goal or worrying about the goal then brings the ego back in.
So he also mentions many times this inner purpose and outer purpose. Even when somebody starts to ask him questions about being successful or working towards a goal, he says that right now your goal is to just listen to him.
At that moment, obviously, sitting in the hall, what else can be done? Sitting in the hall, if you start thinking कि मेरा projects ठीक हो जाएगा कि नहीं, तो फायदा नहीं होगा. At that particular moment, that is it. And then, when you are in the office, then you better do that job. Then that is the immediate thing to be done. What to do.
Actually, that's how the author is also saying that enthusiasm is non-confrontational. Confrontational. Its activity does not create winners and losers. It's based on inclusion, not exclusion of others. It does not need to use or manipulate people because it's the power of creation itself, and so does not need to take energy from some secondary source. There remains always a still but intensely active space at the center of wheel, a core of peace in the midst of activity that is both the source of all and untouched by it all. Words are very powerful. And then he says that it's not that enthusiasm will last always, and there will come a time when it will pass. And that's where he says that once a wave of creative energy has passed, structural tension diminishes again, and the joy in what you are doing remains. Nobody can live in enthusiasm all the time. A new wave of creative energy may come later and lead to renewed enthusiasm. When the return movements
See,
to
enthusiasm has a kind of it's not peace. There is some disturbance in the peace. It's not a peace of it. जैसे उसमें भगवान को अपने स्टेज of meditation बताया था ना, प्रीति, enthusiasm is like प्रीति, and then the shabd is you have seen through it. And then peace, and then you have equanimity. Those stages of enlightenment factors are very powerful.
and that possibly seems true also that once you have
Everybody
this
can
inner
experience.
joy, beyond that you will have a peace and
Yeah.
then
Anybody can explain this, can for any good meditator's experience can verify this, that it is true.
so when the return movement towards the dissolution of the form sets in,
Enthusiasm है, I think it could be, if you want to follow that paradigm, in virya. मान सात को बजेंगे ना सती ब्रह्म विचय वीर्य. Virya is the enthusiasm. Energy is there. करना है.
Is the effort.
It's a purusharth, yeah, in that sense. So it is when it is complete by Priti, then it gives rise to enthusiasm. But we can see the sequence in which Bhagavan ने वो enlightenment factors बनाए हैं. Described is very marvelous. It shows the depth to which mind is penetrated by. Start with sati, Brahma-vichay, investigation of what is happening. Virya, Priti, Prashanti. Samadhi in Prashadhi, then really Samadhi will experience. Then you will have real equanimity. If you remain equanimous during Samadhi. Really marvelous to see this.
So can Samadhi be non-equanimous?
Yeah, powerful. A strong sense of anger, revenge.
Inside Samadhi.
Indeed, you can be in Samadhi. Samadhi does not mean only meditative or something.
Samadhi is
Absorption in the object of attention. That's what I say. Story में महाभारत में कहा था ना, रावण की समाधि बहुत अच्छी. Constantly thinking about राम की story कैसी कैसे night and day. You can have a very strong samadhi, but base is negative. मुझे बताते ना तो उसमें शिकारी की बात है ना या जैसे बगुला होता है, दैट्स अ रियली ग्रेट थिंग। बगुले को आप देखो ऐसे बिल्कुल पानी इतना हिलेगा निकाल के। या बिल्ली का भी देखो आप ध्यान से, बिल के सामने बैठ के चुरेगी, मतलब उसका एक धुआं तक नहीं मिलता।
एक टांग भी हो, जस्ट अगला स्टेप लेना है, बस
उसको निकला और खत्म। Tremendous attention, full focused concentration, खेलना।
I think animal kingdom, I think सर्वाइवल के लिए
enjoyment of what you are doing combined with a goal or a vision that you work towards is enthusiasm. It's a good way of it.
It's the middle part, I'll just read that. When the return movements toward the dissolution of form sets in, enthusiasm no longer serves you. Enthusiasm belongs to the outgoing cycle of life. It is only through surrender that you can align yourself with the return movement, the journey home. And the next is the author calls frequency holders. So the term, what possibly we can describe the frequency holders as possibly the persons who are carrying this source of this knowledge or Dhamma from ages and bringing to us in the present form. Like whatever the words of Buddha were there, they are still available to us because of these frequency holders. That was my sense, and then let me read that. Some are more inward looking by nature. For them the outward movement into form is minimal. They would rather return home than go out. They have no desire to get strongly involved in or change the world. If they have any ambition, they usually don't go beyond finding something to do that gives them a degree of independence. Some of them find it hard to fit into this world. Some are lucky enough to find protective niche when they can lead a relatively sheltered life, a job that provides them with a regular income or small business of their own. Some may feel drawn towards living into a spiritual community or monastery. Others may become dropouts and live on the margins of society they feel they have little in common with. Some turn to drugs because they find living into this world too painful. Others eventually become healers or spiritual teachers, that is to say, teachers of being. And the main theme which comes out is that their function is to anchor the frequency of new consciousness on this planet. I call them the frequency holders. Their task is to bring spacious stillness into the world by being absolutely present in whatever they do.
जिसमें टी हटा दो तो हिज रह जाता है। This planet has become his planet. Interesting. Good.
And then is the last slide.
Finished.
And the author essentially wants to say that his vision of this new earth is not utopia. And just at the core of of all utopia vision lies one of the main structural dysfunction of the old consciousness looking to future for salvation. Nothing is going to make us free because only the present moment can make us free. That realization is the awakening. Awakening as a future meaning has no meaning because awakening is the realization of presence. In the Sermon of the Mount, Jesus makes a prediction that to this day a few people have understood. He says, "Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth." And then the author explains the meeks are the egoless. They are those who have awakened to the essential true nature as consciousness and recognize that essence in all others, all life forms. They live in the surrendered state and so they feel their oneness with the whole and their source. They embody the awakened consciousness that is changing all the aspects of life on our planet, including nature, because life on earth is inseparable from the human consciousness that perceives and interacts with it. That is the sense in which the meek will inherit the earth. A new species is arising on the planet. It is arising now, and you are it. Shamit or Silesh, any questions?
Just seeing that I underline that. Stop the things as I said. Instead of seeing yourself as famous actor and writer and so on, see yourself inspiring countless people with your work and enriching their lives. In Bible में है शायद ये बात, and I saw a new heaven and a new earth. So use that as well.
I think at least we can शुरू करा था, he was saying this concept of new earth, I think is from the Bible.
See, this concept of new heaven, we just talk with that. That's what I heard.
Good, sir. So you completed this. What is about to become new?
Finally, it was a long time.
कितने 6 महीने हो गए? ज़्यादा ही हुए?
6 महीने तो हो ही गए.
So what next? Your friends have any suggestion you can ask them.
So one suggestion I had was that we haven't read any lectures of Thamissaro Bhikkhu. So I thought maybe I can prepare 1 or 2 presentations on his lectures. That's the only thing I had.
हमारा बड़ा कॉन्फिडेंशियल लास्ट ईयर भी मन था वो करने का.
हाँ,
तो
कैसे करें अभी धम्मा को थोड़ा टेंशन चाहिए. और आजकल वो कुछ मेरे मित्र ने प्रश्न पूछ लिए मुझे फेसबुक में, तो मुझे काफ़ी उस पर suitable words चुन चुन के लिखने पे आपने पढ़ा हो? मेरा मित्र है वो श्रीनिवास गुप्ता, इज माई क्लासमेट, मेडिटेटर मुंबई में रहता है, तो उसने सवाल पूछा था ना सबकॉन्शियस अनकॉन्शियस, अभी देखा नहीं होगा तो
कभी हुआ था कुछ तो वो लेक्चर अटेंड करके आए थे।
हाँ
लेडी आई
गया होगा अद्वैता पे, तो उसको उस पर कंफ्यूजन हो रहा था,
स्लीप एंड
डीप स्लीप एंड ड्रीम स्टेट। परसों कल मैंने उसको और उसने अपूर्व ने भी कुछ क्वेश्चन पूछा तो मैंने उसको और क्लियरिफाई किया। Brahma has a great merit in understanding, but उसके लिए कुछ environment create करना पड़ेगा, मतलब breaks के साथ मिल जाएंगे शायद।
So we can do a long session also.
मतलब ब्रेक्स में मतलब ऐसा ना भूलने का चांस है, unless you take homework and do, जैसे वो रॉडनी स्मिथ कहता है ना होमवर्क देता अपने जो इसका लेक्चर सुनने आते हैं ना, he gives them a homework to do, and then says पहले बताओ होमवर्क क्या किया तुमने, फिर आगे करूँगा नहीं तो फालतू हो जाएगी, कुछ बात नहीं होती।
That we can do. I think homework. Actually, that's a good thing. I mean, so in any case, whether Brahma or not, we should do something.
He says, that for example, he gives a talk, then he says, okay, what is the take home? So we practice this in the, he doesn't say you meditate. He said, you practice this in your daily life or next, before you meet after 1 week or 2, जो भी उसका schedule रहता है. And then he wants them to tell क्या हुआ. Does it gel? Did the lecturer die? Did it verify? Did you verify what was being said?
I think somehow it's a good idea. We could choose anything every week. And we could try that and come back and share our experiences and what.
Some money from small practice which can be put in.
Like in the Awakening book of Rodney Smith, he has those sections where you think try this, try that. You could pick up something from there also.
Yeah, you can pick up from anywhere. आप लोगों ने एलन वॉट्स की कोई किताब पढ़ी है?
सर मैंने पढ़ी।
कौन सी?
मैन वुमन इन नेचर।
एक बुक है विजडम ऑफ इनसिक्योरिटी, पावरफुल बुक। मतलब जो कर्ट ने पावर ऑफ नाउ लिखी, उस वजह से 50 साल पहले उसने उन शब्दों में लिखी। उसकी राइटिंग में खास बात यह है कि he doesn't use things which will be difficult to accept. जो वो अंग्रेजों को बढ़ा रहा है ना, तो उनको इसी तरह से बताता है।
Extremely powerful communicator. Extremely powerful.
The ability to explain philosophy in layman's terms is simply astounding.
So I was listening to one of the lectures by Ram Smith, and he brings up how he got.
He got into this by reading Alan Watts and D.T. Sugita.
They were the only people available. Actually, very few people at that time were talking about this.
There's a video about Alan Watts, in which Alan Watts is shown.
Oh, it's not audio, so people will
video.
I have never come across that.
He's taking tea. He's come from USA after attending a conference on Earth or something. So he's talking about the need for a new Earth.
Okay.
He says कि जितनी भी टेक्नोलॉजी कर लो, साइंस कर लो, कुछ भी कर लो, कुछ नहीं होने वाला है, खत्म हो जाओगे unless you change your consciousness. किसी पहाड़ पे बैठ के चाय पी रहा है वो, making tea in that Japanese way and drinking in a small short video, very very powerful. दाढ़ी से ऐसे रखी हुई है।
So इसी बुक को स्टार्ट कर सकते हैं।
Wisdom of now, if you want to, you have you can read it. because उसमें जो डेप्थ है ना अंडरस्टैंडिंग की बहुत पावरफुल।
So let's do this. Wisdom and insecurity just accept the lesson. Then we find out how we can do the Dhamma later.
देख लेते हैं। अभी धम्मक में
And it must be that, right? Suggestion asking, is wisdom and insecurity Buddha's teaching to West?
almost.
Almost.
It's not. He is not. I don't think he's used the word Buddha also, but he avoids this because he was a priest, huh? He was a
Christian priest.
Christian priest.
But सर वो तो क्रिश्चियनिटी की तो बहुत बुरी तरह से
फिर उसको उन्होंने कहा ना काफी हो गया. Either you can't teach on pulpit Buddhism to us people, and he resigned from there, or he was thrown out or whatever you may say. वो नहीं चलेगा. So it is like basically wisdom of insecurity. You can say an explanation of anicca. Basically, anicca and anatta later. But in such beautiful words, which any layman can easily understand. And that is the power of his communication is superb. Absolutely superb. ऐसे शब्द यूज करेगा वो कि आपको आराम से समझ में आ जाएगा.
Yes. His way of explaining
हाँ.
is very good.
You'll understand. Yeah? You'll understand. Any layman can understand. क्या ठीक ही रहा है, ठीक ही रहा है.
Any other suggestions if you guys, any of you have? This book sounds good to me. Start with that.
Okay. You can close the session today. Okay, Silesh. Thank you, Shamit, for coming. You have a good time. Yeah. Take care. Bye.
So